In this video, I'm going to go over how to solve absolute value equations, and we'll learn how to explain how many solutions an absolute value equation has using the sentence frame. When solving an absolute value equation, you'll have blank solutions. So you'll want to label this solving and simplifying absolute value. And if you have a copy of the guided notes, this is the guided notes that you're looking for. Absolute value, solving and simplifying. So when we work with absolute values, to solve them, you need to create two problems. So it says absolute value of x minus 2 equals 10. So you're going to make two problems. The first problem is just going to say x minus 2 equals 10. So in other words, you just remove the absolute value sign and set it equal to the number that's on the right. So that's the first problem. The second problem we're going to make is going to have the same first part, so it's still going to say x minus 2. This time, instead of saying positive 10, we're going to say negative 10. So then notice these are just two linear equations now. I have x minus 2 equals 10, and I have x minus 2 equals negative 10. And you know how to solve linear equations. Remember, you're going to draw the line for both problems. To solve the first one, to get rid of the subtraction by 2, I'm going to add 2. So this gets me x equals 12. For the second one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add 2. It's the same problem. This time I'm just adding 2 to both sides. And now I have negative 10 plus 2. So negative 10 plus 2 is negative 8. So my two solutions are x equals 12 and x equals negative 8. So here's another example. Notice I have absolute value of x minus 3 equals 6. Notice that the minus 3 is not inside the absolute value. So I need to remove that first. So I need to get the absolute value all by itself. To do that, I'm going to add 3 first. So plus 3 to both sides. So absolute value of x equals 9. So now I'm going to create my two equations. I'm going to say x equals 9. So that's the first one. And then the second one, we're just going to make the 9 negative. So x equals negative 9. And on this one, there's nothing to solve. You're done. So x equals 9 or x equals negative 9. So this is your two solutions for this problem. When you type your solutions in MathXL, you could type it as x equals 9 comma negative 9. So this would be your solution if you were to type it in MathXL. Let's do another example. So I have 2 times the absolute value of x plus 5 equals 6. So remember, you got to make sure that the absolute value is all by itself. You can have stuff inside the absolute value, but not outside. So for example, in this one, the 2 is out front. So to get rid of the 2, I'm going to divide everything by 2. Now notice, when I divide by 2, those 2's that are out front cancel, and I'm left with absolute value of x plus 5 equals 3. Notice how nothing inside the absolute value changed. The only thing that changed is now I don't have the number out front. And 6 is divided by 2 is 3. So the only thing that changed on the left side is I don't have the 2 out front anymore. But now I can make my two equations. X plus 5 equals 3, or x plus 5 equals negative 3. So remember, the first one gets the same sign, the second one you change the sign. And then you're going to solve each of those. So to solve, I'm going to undo addition by 5 by subtracting 5. This gets me x equals negative 2. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other equation. So subtract 5. So x equals negative 8. So those are the two solutions for this absolute value equation. So let me give you one more to try on your own. So I have 4 equals the absolute value of 2x minus 7 minus 1. So what I want you to notice is, first you need to check, is the absolute value all by itself? So that's the first thing you need to check. And here, notice there's this -1 outside the absolute value. So you need to get rid of the -1 first. The way that you get rid of the -1 is by adding it to both sides. So this 1 and that -1 cancel. So I get 5 equals the absolute value of 2x minus 7. Notice nothing inside the absolute value changed. The only thing that's different is there's now nothing outside the absolute value. So you're going to create your 2 equations. So 5 equals 2x minus 7. For the second equation, instead of having 5, I'm going to have -5. So -5 equals 2x minus 7. And then you could solve this just like you would in an equation. So here we'll add 7 to both sides first. So plus 7. So this gets me 12 equals 2x. And when I do it, the same thing on the other side, plus 7, I get -2 equals 2x. Sorry, that's positive 2. So I get positive 2 equals 2x. Then I'm going to divide. So notice the x isn't by itself yet. I'm going to divide by 2. So x is 6. Or if I divide by 2 here, x is 1. And again, if I'm going to type my answer into MathXL, the way that you would do that is you would say x equals 1, comma, 6. So these are your 2 solutions, 1 and 6. So I have one special case that I want to go over with you, and that's this one. So absolute value of x plus 2 equals -4. Remember, absolute value always has to give you a positive number. Remember, we talked about at the very beginning, absolute value of -2 gives you positive 2. The absolute value of a positive number, let's say 3, gives you a positive number. You always get a positive number, right? That's how we defined absolute value always gives you a positive number because it measures distance. So here, this would be no solution because absolute value can never be negative. So this would be no solution because I have the absolute value equal to a negative number. Now that you've viewed this video on solving absolute value equations, you should be able to complete the assignment that's in MathXL. It's titled Absolute Value Solving and Evaluating, and that's in MathXL.